Next morning, Peter and Janet began preparing for the meeting. Meetings weren't proper meetings somehow, unless there was plenty to eat and drink while they talked. Their mother was always generous in giving cakes or biscuits and lemonade, and the two children went to find her. "Hello," she said, looking up from chopping parsley on a board. "What are you two after now?" "We're going to have a Secret 7 meeting," explained Peter, "and we wanted something to eat and drink." "Well now, let me see. You can have that tin of ginger biscuits. They've gone soft," said Mummy, smiling. "And you can make yourself some real lemonade. There are plenty of lemons and sugar in the larder." "Oh, good," said Janet. "I'll do that. I'll make it with hot water and let it go cool. Anything else we can have?" "Jam tarts," said Mummy, chopping away hard at the parsley. "Only 4, though, I'm afraid. That's all that were left from supper last night." "4? Well, we'll halve them," said Peter. "There'll be 1 left over, so—" "Woof, woof," said Scamper at once. The children laughed. "All right, you shall have the half left over," said Peter. "You never miss a word of what we say, do you, Scamper?" Janet made the lemonade, and Peter got the tin of biscuits and found the tarts. He cut them carefully into exact halves and put them on a plate. "Come on, Janet," he said. "It's nearly 10:30. "Peter, please do tell me the password," said Janet. "I'm very, very sorry I've forgotten it." "No, I shan't tell you," said Peter. "You'll have to be in the shed anyhow. And you can jolly well listen to the others coming along and saying the password and feel ashamed of yourself." "You're mean," said Janet. "Isn't he mean, Scamper?" Scamper didn't answer. "There," said Peter. "He won't say I'm mean. He never will. Do come on, Janet. I'm not going to wait a minute longer." Janet was ready. She put the jug of lemonade and 7 unbreakable mugs on an old tray and followed Peter out of the kitchen. "Thanks, Mummy," she said, as she went carefully down the steps outside the kitchen door. Peter was ahead of her. He went along the path that wound between the bushes right down to the bottom of the garden, where the old shed stood that they used for their meetings. On the door was always pinned the sign, SS. How many, many times the Secret 7 had met there and made exciting plans. Janet followed a little way behind, carrying her tray carefully. She suddenly heard Peter give a startled shout and almost dropped the tray she held. "What's the matter?" she called, and tried to hurry. She came in sight of the shed and stared in horror. The door was wide open, and so were the windows. Everything had been turned out of the shed. There were boxes and cushions and sacks, all strewn on the ground in untidy heaps. Whatever had happened? Janet put her tray down, afraid that she might drop it in her dismay. She looked at Peter in despair. "Who's done this? Just as we were going to have a meeting, too. It's too bad." Peter looked into the shed. It was quite empty, except for the shelves round the sides. He was puzzled. "Janet, it couldn't be Susie, could it?" he said. "I mean, this is an awful thing to do. Throw everything out of our shed. I don't think even Susie would do that." "She might," said Janet, almost in tears. "Oh, our lovely meeting place." "Here come the others," said Peter, as Pamela and Barbara appeared down the path together. They stared in amazement at the untidy mess on the ground. "What's happened?" said Barbara. "Are we too early?" "No, we've only just seen all this ourselves," said Peter. "Hello, here's Jack. Jack, look here." "Gosh," said Jack. "Who's done this? It can't be Susie. She's been with me all morning till I left just now." Colin and George came up just then, and the 7 looked ruefully at the boxes and cushions thrown out so untidily. "We'd better put them back," said Janet, "and we'll find out who's done all this to our secret meeting place." They began to put everything back, and then they heard footsteps coming along down the path. Who was it? Peter looked to see. It was the gardener, carrying a strong broom over his shoulder, a pail of water in his hand, and some cloths hanging on the side of the pail. He stared at the 7 in annoyance. "Hey, you! What are you doing? I've only just thrown all that rubbish out." "But why?" demanded Peter indignantly.